Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we are confronting a fantasy that I think pretty much everyone listening has entertained.
Oh, I know this one.
Usually around 3:00 p.m. on a Tuesday, or maybe right now if you're stuck in traffic.
Is this the specific fantasy where you just throw your laptop out the window and, I don't know, drive into the sunset?
Close. So close. It's the one where you sell the house, quit the job, leave the family, and move to a cave in the Himalayas.
Ah, the nuclear option.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because let's be honest, the modern world, the emails, the traffic, the constant demands, the Slack notifications dinging every 30 seconds, it feels completely incompatible with being at peace.
It's the Sunday scaries or the Monday blues, but on an existential level.
Yeah.
It's this fundamental belief that the world is the problem, and if you could just remove the world from the equation, you'd finally be happy.
And today, we are putting that belief to the test. We're looking at a really fascinating set of lectures by Swami Sarvapriyananda on Chapter 5 of the Bhagavad Gita,
It's titled Sannyasa Yoga.
which translates to the Yoga of Renunciation. And the mission for this deep dive is, well, it's pretty specific. We want to find out why this ancient text says that running away to a cave is actually a trap.
And how you can find that sort of monk-like peace while you're still sitting in your cubicle or, driving your minivan.
It's a great topic because it really addresses the tension that drives the entire Gita. You have the main character, Arjuna, a warrior, standing on a battlefield.
A huge, horrific war, family against family, and he just breaks down.
He does.
He effectively asks Krishna, can I just quit? Can I drop my weapons, put on some orange robes, and go beg for food in the forest?
Which is pretty much the ancient equivalent of, can I go live in a van by the river and just vibe?
Precisely. Arjuna thinks the choice is binary. Option A is karma, yoga action, duty, the rat race, the war.
And option B is sannyasa renunciation, silence, monkhood.
And he assumes option B is the spiritual one. He thinks the uniform makes the monk.
But the source material, these lectures, they suggest that Krishna, the teacher, actually pushes back on that. Hard.
He doesn't say, yes, go meditate, you look tired.
No. He says, no, get up and fight.
Right. And this brings us to the first key insight of our deep dive, the whole monk versus manager dilemma.
We tend to think that spiritual life looks a certain way.
Shaved head, silence, vegetarian food, smelling like sandalwood.
Right.
But Swami Sarvapriyananda points out that those are just external props. If you change the outfit but you don't change the mind, you haven't actually gone anywhere.
He uses this incredibly visceral analogy to explain why running away doesn't work. The dog with fleas.
This is a classic example. So picture a dog sitting in the sun. It's a hot, scorching day. And the dog is just miserable. It's scratching, biting itself, whining.
Spinning in circles because of the fleas.
Right. The fleas represent the pains of worldly engagement, the difficult boss, inflation, the noise, relationships that require work.
All the little bites.
Exactly. The dog feels the bite and thinks, the sun is the problem. The heat makes the fleas active. If I go into the shade, I'll be comfortable.
The shade represents a cave, the monastery, retirement, even the weekend.
You got it. So the dog runs to the shade. It finds a nice cool spot under a tree, but does it stop scratching?
No, of course not. The fleas are on the dog, not in the sun.
Exactly. You bring the fleas with you. And in the analogy, the Swami adds a really interesting layer. He says, in the shade, there's a new problem, a virus in the brain.
That sounds ominous. What's the virus?
It represents the internal noise, boredom, regret, anxiety. When you strip away the external distractions of work, when you take away the sun, you are left alone with your own mind.
And for most of us, that is a terrifying place to be.
It really is.
I've felt that. You know when you finally get a vacation, you go to the beach, and by day 3 you're anxious because you aren't doing anything? You start checking your email just to feel normal?
That's the virus biting you.
Yeah.
The external distractions kept the internal noise quiet. So the source material argues that if you run away prematurely, you're just trading external trouble, the sun, for internal misery, the virus.
You haven't solved the problem. You've just changed the location of the suffering.
That's it.
So Krishna's verdict in the Gita is that for the vast majority of people, you have to stay in the sun.
Yes. He recommends karma yoga, the path of action. But, and this is the crucial part, it's not just working hard or grinding.
Okay.
It's working with a very specific radical shift in mindset. The action is meant to be a scrub brush for the mind.
At scrub brush.
It cleans out that virus so that eventually when you do sit in the shade, you can actually be at peace. You can sit with yourself without needing a distraction.
Okay, so let's get practical. If we aren't quitting our jobs and we are using the job as a scrub brush, How do we actually do that? Because usually work just feels like it's adding dirt, not removing it.
Right. This brings us to what the Swami calls the Puja Paradigm.
The Puja Paradigm.
This requires a total inversion of why we work. Ask yourself, why do you go to work? I mean, be honest.
I mean, to get paid, to get promoted, to feel important, or frankly, just to not get fired so I can pay my mortgage.
Right. It's all outcome-based. We want the reward, the Gita says. Keep doing the work, keep writing the code, keep teaching the class, keep driving the truck, but change the beneficiary.
Change the beneficiary. What do you mean?
In a puja, which is a traditional ritual worship in India, you offer flowers, incense, or food to the divine. You don't do it to get the flower, you do it to give the flower.
Okay.
Swami Sarvaprananda asks, why can't the quarterly report be the flower? Why can't driving the kids to soccer be the incense?
So you're saying I should mentally offer my Excel spreadsheet to the universe?
Yes, you say, I am doing this task to the very best of my ability, not for my boss's approval, not for the bonus, but as an offering to God, or consciousness, or whatever higher power fits your worldview.
That shifts the quality of the work, doesn't it? If I'm writing an email for God, I'm probably going to proofread it better than if I'm writing it for Dave in accounting.
Exactly. It demands excellence because you don't offer garbage to the divine. But, and here's the magic, it removes the anxiety about the result. You have done your part. The offering is made.
And this leads to the second part of the equation, which the source material calls the science of satisfaction. If the work is an offering, what is the result? What happens to the paycheck or the performance review?
In this framework, the result becomes prasada.
Prasada.
It's a beautiful concept. In a temple, after you offer food to the deity, the priest brings it back to you as blessed food, that is, prasada. It's a gift from the divine.
The source uses the mango versus pear example here, which I thought was brilliant.
It's so simple, but it just clicks. Imagine you go to a temple and you really, really want a mango. You pray for a mango. You offer your devotion hoping for a mango, but the priest comes out and hands you a pear.
Do you throw the pear on the ground and scream, I ordered a mango?
Of course not. You'd look like a lunatic. You take the pear with both hands, you touch it to your forehead, and you say thank you.
Because it's not about the fruit. It's about the blessing. It's about who gave it to you.
Exactly. You accept it with reverence because of where it came from. Now, apply that to the office. You do the work as an offering. The result comes back. Maybe it's a promotion. That's a mango. Maybe it's a layoff or a harsh critique. That's a pear.
That is incredibly hard to do. Accepting a layoff as a blessing, that feels like a stretch for most of us.
It is hard. It's advanced calculus for the soul, but the philosophy here is that everything that comes to you is required for your growth.
So even the bad stuff.
Especially the bad stuff. If you view the critique as prasada, as a necessary lesson sent by the divine to shape you, it neutralizes the ego. You don't get a swollen head when you succeed, and you don't get crushed when you fail.
You just say, Prasada, this is what I needed.
You got it.
It creates an emotional buffer zone. You aren't riding the roller coaster of I'm a genius versus I'm a failure.
It does. And the Swami shares a real-world story of someone who actually lived this. He calls it the monk in the posh hotel.
I loved this story. It really highlights the contrast between the external situation and the internal state.
So there was this monk who was also a brilliant computer scientist. He had been doing the traditional sannyasa thing, wandering in the Himalayas, sleeping on the cold ground, literally begging for food.
Hardcore. No amenities, no comfort.
Very hardcore. But then, because of his scientific background, he gets summoned to a massive technology conference in a major city. Suddenly, he is put up in a 5-star hotel.
Talk about whiplash.
Yeah.
One day you're sleeping in a cave, the next day you're at the buffet with tech billionaires and high thread count sheets.
Right. And Swami Sarvapriyananda asks him later, what was that like? That transition must have been jarring.
And his answer was so flat, so undramatic.
Because you just said, when I was begging, I didn't feel it was bad. And now that I'm here, I don't feel this is particularly great either.
He was completely neutral.
He enjoyed the hotel bed, sure. He slept well. But his happiness wasn't dependent on it. He wasn't attached to the luxury, and he wasn't repulsed by the poverty.
And this leads to that quote, the one that really stuck with me.
Yes. The Swami says, winning the rat race still makes you a rat.
That hits home. We spend so much time trying to win.
The goal isn't to win the race. It's to realize you aren't a rat. You can run the race if that's your duty, like the monk attending the conference, but you don't derive your identity from your position in the pack.
But we are conditioned to believe that the win will make us happy, that if we just get enough zeros in the bank account, we'll be set.
Right, and the source material actually tackles this with some economics, the law of diminishing marginal utility.
Which is just a fancy way of saying that the first cookie is heaven.
The second is good, but the 10th cookie makes you sick.
Exactly. Consumption has a ceiling. You cannot consume your way to infinite happiness.
And Swami Sarvapriyananda brings in this metaphor from the mystic Sri Ramakrishna about zeros and ones to explain why we keep chasing more.
This is the math of spirituality.
It is. He says worldly things, money, fame, cars, degrees, followers on social media, they are all zeros.
Okay.
If you have 1 zero, what is it worth?
Yeah.
If you have 10 zeros,
Still zero.
right. You can have a string of zeros stretching to the moon, a mansion, a yacht, a CEO title. But if they are just zeros, the sum total is nothing. It feels empty.
But
if you put the number 1 in front of them,
now you have a billion.
and that 1 represents the spiritual connection, the sense of higher purpose, God, the self. The point isn't that you have to delete the zeros. You don't have to be poor.
Right. The monk in the hotel had the zeros. He had the luxury.
But he had the 1 in front, so the zeros had value without defining him.
Without the one, you just end up like that guy in the source material, the one who tried to break the world record for watching TV.
Oh, right, the 94-hour binge.
He thought maximizing consumption, pure entertainment for 4 days straight would be the ultimate pleasure. And by the end, he wasn't happy. He was hallucinating and depressed.
It just proves we aren't designed just to consume. We are designed for meaning.
So let's look at the person who has put the 1 in front of the zeros, the enlightened person. How do they see the world? Because Chapter 5, verse 18 of the Gita drops a pretty radical concept here about equality.
This is the vision of the same-sided sage. The verse says that the enlightened person sees the exact same divinity in a learned Brahmin, a cow, an elephant, a dog, and an outcast.
Now we have to contextualize this. In ancient India, a Brahmin is the top of the social hierarchy, pure, holy. A dog or an outcast was considered socially and ritually unclean.
Right. To say they are equal was absolute heresy to the social order. It's meant to be shocking. It's like saying the Pope and a stray rat are the same.
But does it mean they are functionally equal? Like, do I ask the cow for financial advice? Do I invite the elephant into my living room?
No, and that's a common misunderstanding. It's not functional equality. You don't try to milk the elephant. It's spiritual sameness.
Okay, so what is that?
The Swami uses a modern analogy. Go to New York City, you see a mother pushing a baby in a stroller, and next to her, someone pushing a dog in a stroller.
Which, having been to New York, is very accurate. Sometimes the dog is wearing a better sweater than I am.
Exactly. But the sage sees past the sweater. The sage sees the screen.
Explain the screen analogy. This was the most abstract part for me, but I think it's the most important.
Think of a movie theater. You have a movie playing. There's a hero, a villain, a fire, a flood. The action is chaotic, but what is making the movie possible?
The white screen behind it.
Okay. Now, when the fire burns in the movie, does the screen get burnt?
Yeah.
When the flood happens, does the screen get wet? And does the screen prefer the hero over the villain? Does it say, I only want to show the romantic comedies, not the horror movies?
No, it just sports the light. It's the background for everything.
That is the real you. That is consciousness. The Brahmin, the cow, the dog, the CEO, the janitor, those are just characters in the movie. The enlightened person identifies with the screen, not the character.
They see that the underlying reality of everyone is the same. That's a beautiful metaphysical concept. I want to be the screen. But I have to play devil's advocate here, even if I know I'm the screen. When the movie of my life turns into a horror film, when there is physical pain or grief or betrayal, it still hurts. The screen might be fine, but I don't feel fine.
That is a very real objection, and the Gita doesn't deny pain. It's not asking you to be a robot. This is where the Swami brings in the Buddhist concept of the 2 arrows.
This is a tool for resilience.
Yes. The first arrow is the event itself. You lose your job, you get a diagnosis, someone insults you. That is the physical or situational pain. It is inevitable. It hits everyone.
Even the Dalai Lama, even the monk in the hotel.
Everyone. You can't meditate your way out of a stubbed toe. But then comes the second arrow.
This is our reaction.
This is the why me, the it's not fair, the I'm a failure, the story you spin around the pain.
So the first arrow is the wound. The second arrow is us stabbing ourselves in the wound over and over again.
Exactly. The second arrow is suffering. And the source says, pain is inevitable, suffering is optional.
And to teach us how to dodge that second arrow, the Swami tells my absolute favorite story from this entire series, the War Camel.
I love the war camel. It's such a strange, powerful image.
Set the scene for us.
So imagine a woman in a village. She has a nice vegetable garden. One day, a camel wanders in and starts eating her cabbages.
Naturally.
She is furious. She runs out with a tin can and a stick, banging on it, screaming, trying to scare the camel away. She's making a huge racket.
And in this fable, the camel can talk.
Yes, it's a talking camel. The camel just keeps chewing. He looks at her completely unfazed and says, "Woman, I was a war camel."
I was a war camel. I love that.
He says, "Drums of war were played on my back. Cannons were fired next to my ears. People were screaming and dying around me. Do you really think your little tin can is going to scare me?"
That is such a flex.
It's a metaphor for sthira buddhi, a steady mind. We are constantly banging tin cans at ourselves. A rudely worded email. Tin can.
Traffic jam. Tin can. The barista got the order wrong. Tin can.
And we react like it's a war. We let it ruin our day. We fire the second arrow immediately.
We do.
But the person who has practiced karma yoga, who has purified the mind, they become the war camel. They realize, I am the screen. I have faced the big questions of existence. I know who I am. This traffic jam is just a tin can.
It's not about becoming numb, is it? It's not about not caring.
Correct. It's a thickness of skin that comes from knowing your true nature. You aren't fragile. You've been through worse. You can handle the cabbage being eaten.
So if we put this all together, we have a path that is radically different from the quit and leave fantasy we started with.
It leads to the final concept of the deep dive. Jivan Mukti.
Liberation while living.
Most religions sell you a post-mortem package. Be good now, suffer now, get into heaven or paradise after you die.
Yeah.
Advaita Vedanta offers a plot twist. It says you can be free right now. You don't have to wait for the body to drop.
You can be free in the staff meeting. You can
Yeah.
be free in the traffic jam.
If you realize you are the screen, you are free instantly. You play the role of the manager or the parent or the partner, but you know it's just a role. You don't get lost in the script.
So to summarize the toolkit from Swami Sarvapriyananda.
Yeah.
First, don't run to the shade if your mind is full of fleas. The virus will just get you there.
Second, use the Puja Paradigm. Work is worship. Offer it up to remove the ego.
Third, accept the results as prasada. Whether it's a mango or a pear, say thank you.
And finally, be the war camel. Recognize the difference between a cannon and a tin can.
That is a lot to digest, but it gives me a whole new strategy for tomorrow morning.
It does, and I want to leave the listener with a thought experiment based on the screen analogy.
Go for it.
We spend our whole lives trying to fix the movie. We want better actors, better scenery, a happier ending. We are exhausted from trying to direct the film of our lives.
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
But if you are the screen is already fine. The screen was fine during the tragedy, and it was fine during the comedy.
So the question is,
What would happen to your anxiety right now if you stopped trying to fix the movie and just started watching it?
that is something I'm going to sit with. Thank you for listening to this deep dive into the Gita. Hopefully it helps you find a little peace in the sun.
See you next time.